Monday, it is Moth Live. The time now in Ireland is 12 minutes past 3. My name is Keith Walsh, and this is Alan F. Come up with it. I don't know.
You can call me Al, buddy. You can call me Al. Well, they wrote a song with me, but I want to be humble about it.
My sister actually watched it, and she messaged me afterwards after our chat last week. She said, "You missed a trick there on Call Me Al, the song." So
you did, Keith. Come on, you got to figure it out, buddy.
Totally did. I'm not with it at all. This is Moth Live. If you've got a story that maybe you're reading between the lines, maybe you are between the lines, and we would like to tell you and the country and the world the news that's between the lines that people aren't telling you. So if you've got a story and you feel like it's worth us talking about, do get in touch. You can just send us a message wherever you're watching this. You can message us directly, and we will come back to you. So let's go back to something we've spoken about on every episode since our first episode, is because we got a letter from a solicitor on behalf of somebody that you mentioned. If you'd like to just give us a little brief synopsis of what that is and where we are at this point, and then we'll go from there.
Well, we've hit a nerve, as they say, Keith. We've told the truth, and it's already having a resounding impact on people that don't tell the truth. So basically, we told the truth. This guy wants us to stop telling the truth. And as I said, openly, come on the show, Jeff, and we will be happy to have a conversation with you if you want to defend your honor, which, we're a number of weeks in now, Keith, and it still hasn't happened. So we've gone a step further. We've had a very nice guy from the US reach out who's taken time out of his day to join us. He's on a different time zone, and he's going to fill in some of the blanks in relation to Jeffrey Leo from Dundrum House. Hey, Dan.
Yeah, joining us on Moth is Daniel.
From the great state of Maryland in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful
Maryland. Your surname, can you pronounce that for me as a thick Irish lad? Can you pronounce your surname for me?
Smelkinson.
Yeah. It's as you read it, Keith. Smelkinson, buddy.
It is Smelkinson, yeah.
It's not one of the Irish ones where the K isn't silent or anything like that, right?
It's spelled Smelkinson, but it's pronounced Smile. What's the
like
root of your surname, Mr. Smelkinson?
The root of my surname is Ukrainian, Belarusian, Polish.
Good, very cool. Good stock. This man is good stock. So, Al, I think you should lead Dan with the first question and get us going on this.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, lean Dan. So, Dan, just to set the tone, I'm not sure if you've been tracking it, but we're a number of weeks in, and we've already received, on average, a legal letter once a week from Jeffrey Leo and his friends, and it's a very, very simple tone. Stop telling the truth about me, or I'm going to sue you. So that's candidly why we're here, is to tell the truth. So we've given Jeff the opportunity to come on, which he's declined upon. So we've had quite a number of people reach out to confirm they've had similar experience with Jeff, and obviously you're one of them. So just want to set the tone. So in particular, we're discussing Jeffrey Leo's investment conduct and behavior. So just going to let you do a quick introduction for everybody, just that we can start filling in. We fill in what's between the lines, which is, the media will report, and we say we're going to report the stuff that's reading between the lines. So thanks for joining, Dan.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here. I came upon Jeff Leo's name maybe 8-9 years ago when I was dealing with a farmer in the United States who sells a lot of chicken eggs, and I began to market and sell her eggs for her all over the country of the United States. And as we got to know each other better, she slowly started revealing the fact that she was involved with Jeff Leo in an investment. And as she told me, elaborated about the investment over months, she didn't tell me everything at first, but as time went on, she began to reveal this investment that she had gotten into and described how she got into it and how Jeff Leo approached her and what the kinds of enormous fund amounts of money that she had given to Jeff Leo as an investment under the auspices that he was a Morgan Stanley VP and knew a lot about finance and was well established. And when he says something, it was for sure. And to keep in mind the fact that the egg farmers were old school, kind of salt of the earth people who just believe that your word is your bond. If you give me your handshake, I trust you. Well, that couldn't have been further from the truth, as they came to find out that the investments that they made were not quite what they had thought in terms of the conservative nature that they thought they were getting into, purchasing properties overseas that were being sold at the time they were being bought was in the 2012 to 2015, which, as you know, was after the Great Recession, and banks were unloading a lot of properties. And so they were purchasing, Jeff was purchasing these properties on behalf of the investor who was the egg farmer. But come to find out that none of these properties were actually titled in the name of the egg farmer. They were actually titled on different companies, a myriad of companies that were not even controlled by the egg farmer, were actually, come to find out later, controlled by Mr. Leo and several other people. And they were, Mr. Leo wrote himself in as director and didn't basically reveal or disclose that fact to the egg farmer. And this went on for, I'd say about 10 years, from 2012 to 2022. And so I became concerned for the egg farmer. And I told the egg farmer, look, this doesn't sound kosher. It sounds unusual that you don't have any information. You're not receiving written deeds. You're not getting back the required information that any investor would need when they make an investment of any.
Danny, can I ask you what the investment was? What the main seed investment was? What kind of money are we talking?
Well, the total, after all said and done, it didn't go over there immediately, but it went over there in a period of 5 years. Totaled well over 60 million US dollars. So that type of money
falling off my seat here. Sorry.
Was a game changer for
Dan. Just on that, so just parsing the timing. So Jeff obviously left the US under kind of very unusual circumstances. He had some incidents in the US that caused him to leave the States, right, from and being involved in any professional financial advisory roles, right? Okay.
Well, he lost his license. He lost his license back in, I think, 2010 or 11.
Okay.
He lost his license, and he was FINRA, which is a regulatory agency, pulled his license to be a broker, to have a license to be a broker dealer, meaning you can't work at Goldman Sachs, you can't work at Morgan Stanley or Schwab or any registered investment banker. You can't be a broker. You can't contact clients to buy and sell stock. And that license was pulled. It was a lifetime ban, which he accepted because he had been, well, you can look it up on the internet online, but he had been doing some nefarious things with clients. So they negotiated. So he agreed to take to have a lifetime ban.
So then if you put it into context, I mean, so that amount of capital in Jeff Leo's hands coming to Ireland, that was his startup money, right? So he came into Ireland on the back of leaving the US and established himself in Ireland as a credible source of income. I mean, that's essentially what happened. And then he started acquiring and amassing quite a significant portfolio on the back of And can you speak to the people in question, or Dan, or I mean, we'll only go where you're comfortable, right? But I guess, look, what we're discussing today is we have mentioned on a few occasions that Jeffrey Leo is not to be trusted. Okay, and I'm law of unintended consequences. You and I have crossed paths for two reasons. One, my history with Jeffrey Leo, but in essence, the capital that you're referring to actually ended up being my seed capital in my technology company, and that's, there's an interlink, right? There's a common denominator here, and I've spoken openly about the guy in many forums, and it has gone unheard, right? That this guy is, has a very nefarious way of doing business. So I mean, where is it now, Dan? So what's happening? Like, what's your kind of read on Jeffrey Leo right now? And I'm going to speak to some of the feedback we've got from people from Dundrum, just in terms of how he's continuing to conduct his business there as well, and it's having a grave impact actually on an entire town at this stage. I mean, there's a huge amount of distress being caused by his actions, So what's your kind of read on filling in the blanks where it's now? What has he been up to?
Well, this has been process has taken since 2012 when he first met the egg farmer until today. Now we're almost in 2025, so you're talking about 13 years. And in the beginning, when he was getting the money, he was divesting it into whatever investment he felt that he could find that he thought was going to be a fabulous investment. And it didn't. The risk meter really was off the chart. So what the egg farmer wanted was to have a guaranteed return and to get their money back in 3 years or 2 or 3 years. But what Jeff was investing the money in were high-flying venture capital deals such as yours, where he had the cash and he was funding the growth of your company with tremendous amounts of staff being hired to write, I guess I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I guess you were writing code and continuing to improve the technology that you had developed, and you needed a lot of code writers, and so they hired staff in Dublin using the egg farmer's money, and Jeff was using the money and giving it to you with the expectation was that the technology would then be a big winner and would be able to return tremendous returns like 10x or 20x or 30x. Now, he did not at the time explain that to the egg farmer exactly how risky the investment was, but be that as it may, what transpired after that was that Jeff maybe maneuvered himself in a position to where he actually, instead of helping you grow your business and grow your technology, he actually thwarted it by maybe some financial maneuvers that he made. And those financial maneuvers ended up causing the technology and him to gain control of the technology, and him being able to do things other than, but the sad part is the egg farmer got nothing out of it, who was the source of the money, and you got burned. And I think, I don't know if anyone was enriched over it. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. It's not for me to say, but certainly the investor was not enriched, and you were not enriched.
Can I jump in there, Al? So can you just fill in that bit of the story? This guy comes along with a basket full of eggs. I mean, some money. He looks like a good guy. He wants to invest in your business. He wants to help you. You're meeting this guy going, yeah, this guy seems legit. He's got the credentials. We're gonna, if you can come in and help and give us some of this egg money. and we can hire some coders and advance our plans. Tell us what happened and what was that encounter like?
So as Dan is articulating it, right? So I was doing that startup anyway. So we were creating a company, and you go to market for investment. So Jeffrey Leo was really good at getting into people's heads. So he was getting validated by other people. So he was like, he had significant portfolio. But speaking to Dan's point, nobody expected for a second that this guy had taken all, like, it's an unbelievable amount of money, right? In terms of the amount of sheer cash that he had at his disposal to make investments. As Dan spoke to the family in question, we won't mention them today, but we'll give them an opportunity to come on to speak for themselves. He was to invest in low risk return portfolios of properties and bricks and mortar and hotels, and he took it upon himself to start investing in high growth startups. Like, this was an AI company. 2016, 2017, AI wasn't even on the cool vertical yet. We were way ahead. I had patents in AI long before people were even thinking that AI was going to work. And we went to market to raise. Jeff was kind of introduced to other people. He was validated. And, the problem with Jeff is that he didn't even fulfill upon that part. So even the investment that he was supposed to put in, he didn't put in. He put on as a loan. He reneged on salary runs. He was a CFO. He didn't pay taxes. So the company ended up in difficulty. We thought we'd been rid of him, but we didn't realize that he stayed in there. And, this is what Dan's speaking to, where he came back and purchased loans in the company to become a creditor, to put the company into liquidation. So, this will open up another pursuit. We're not going to let this go, right? I mean, there's a legal team geared to pursue this, because the problem here is, until the last couple of weeks, we didn't realize, until Dan and I got together and spoke to the investor, that it's actually Jeff has been the only beneficiary of anything belonged to this process, right? And that's what we don't realize. So the founders, which is myself and my team and my wife, Dan representing investors, have all lost demonstrative, not only on this, but all the other investments. So the reality of the situation here is, when you see, if somebody walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck, right? Or foul play, Dan, isn't that the one that you were speaking to?
Yeah.
So what we're highlighting today is, Leo has come out to say, stop telling lies about me, and we're telling the truth. You have Dan coming on to discuss the situation in terms of, he has a pattern of behavior of falsifying documents, nefarious business practice. He has used somebody else's money, wasn't his money. And, it's not as if he spreads wealth around and the people that are involved with him become wealthy. That's the reality, right? Dan, just to kind of step backward for a second. So obviously you're somewhat aware of what's happening right now with Dundrum House. There's a lot of dismay in terms of people locally. There's one guy in particular who does want to join us on the show also, who's just, he feels so passionate about his hometown, and that he feels it's after being ruined by somebody who has promised everybody that he was going to rejuvenate the town, he was going to build a new golf course, he was going to bring in lots of excitement around the area, but instead he's delivering a service that's substandard, and not only that, I guess he's not even protecting the investment on behalf of the family, right? Would that be a fair statement?
Well, no, that would be that you're basically correct. You're 100% correct. The investment that was given by the egg farmer to Jeff Leo to invest was never returned. And most of the principal is sitting in various portfolio of assets that there was about 35 different acquisitions that Jeff Leo got involved in. And I'd say a good portion of them completely failed. But some of them actually turned out to be fairly on target. For example, the Dundrum, which they purchased at a fire sale, they ended up using the revenue from the golf course and from the renting out some of the units to improve the property, so that they were able to now rent the property out for quite a substantial sum. And those proceeds, unfortunately, are being mismanaged. The substantial sum are not going to the original egg farmer investor, but they're just going to Jeff to be either enrich himself or to pay off the debts of the bad deals that he made.
That just a second. So Dan, what we're actually saying is, not only has he taken the initial seed capital, but he's also making leveraging finance, and proceeds of that finance isn't going back to the investors either. I mean, like, so it's not only one track of behavior, right? He's literally heading down to the point where he's not servicing the loans and he's using the capital for other purposes, and he's the only one being enriched in this process. Is this literally what we're speaking to here?
Yeah, he's living in a castle, $3 million castle. He is all the expenses are paid for by the businesses that are purportedly owned by the egg farmer, but yet Jeff Leo has managed to insert his name as director, and now he's actually through a very kind of fraudulent move, got the investor through lying and promising that something that he couldn't deliver. He actually got the investments all to be now titled in his own name. So really, he owns virtually everything over there, although he never invested one dime into purchasing any of the properties. So now the egg farmer is pursuing legal means to reverse that and claw back all the assets. So that's what they have to do. They got to claw back the assets, which everyone knows that Jeff Leo didn't invest any money. So he's not really fighting the fact that he has to give the assets back. But the fight is now over what he gets to keep. And he wants to keep a substantial amount of the assets, which he's not entitled to keep anything because he didn't return the initial principal back to the egg farmer. So the egg farmer is going to take a loss, even if they get all the assets back. And Jeff wants to enrich himself by keeping some of the assets, which we're in the process now of trying to reach a settlement to where maybe Jeff can walk away with something, and he can give back the portfolio to the egg farmer. The egg farmer can then hire a professional manager to manage it. And that's what the idea is. And then get back.
I mean, Dan, it's just like when you think of it in terms of, I mean, just to frame it, I mean, so everybody kind of gets the relevance here. This is an extremely hardworking family that, have built up a business. They entrusted this guy. They hired this guy. This guy has been paid a remuneration. He's been given their investment, in good faith, right? And we're now at the situation where the tide has gone out. He's got no shorts on. And there's still no humility in terms of he won't right the wrong. He's still negotiating an outcome. Candidly, that is not deserved, right? I mean, it's to me, it's mind-boggling the mentality here, right?
Could I put it to you, Al, just to be devil's advocate, or the cat among the pigeons, or the fox in the hen house?
Watch those acronyms though, because they're be close to Dan's heart. That's
getting out of hand.
I get in my hen house now, that's for sure.
You can handle a fox. I don't know what the word for this guy is, to be honest. But that's,
right.
I think you start.
Let's be a small bit.
It's more like
pragmatic. But I have a few words for the guy. But
he's starting to crack. I think he's starting to crack.
No, but devil's advocate.
Could he say, look, I've been able to manage certain systems to put myself into this. Has he broken the law, is what I'm asking?
Okay, well, you're asking a question, but you're saying you wanted to be the devil's advocate. I thought you were going to say something in Jeff's defense, maybe that he built up.
There's no defending this dude.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like
I'm
Keith,
just-
I'm the devil's like there is no.
I'm not
guys,
defending him.
But
I'm
let's be
just
very
saying.
clear to everybody who's watching, right? There is no defending this. He acquired businesses in a time of recession. He has taken somebody's family money and he has turned that into more money, and you know, they've never seen a profit. So there is no.
I'm trying to be balanced here, and I can't find the balance.
You're not going to find it, dude. Like, it's literally like the guy should just give their money back, hand them the keys, and carry on out of there and restart. And if he's got any thread of integrity left or any morality, he should just hand these poor fucking family their everything back today with proceeds and with the profits that he's been taking for the last decade, and just get the heck out of here. Like, seriously, Jeff, come on and defend yourself if you want to. We're live. You were watching the show. We know it because you're giving us a tricky letters. You're caught, dude. The time is up, right? You're under pressure. Now, just right the wrong. Do the right thing for once in your life, man. Do the right thing. These people, don't make these people go through a court battle and spend more of their money to pursue you. Stop, pause, and give them their money back, man. For God's sake.
This is the moment, you know, when people say, "Oh, there was no turning back." Like, we're giving you an opportunity to turn back, to stop, to pause, to have a conversation, to try and do the right thing. How is this affecting that family? Like we're talking about human beings here, Dan.
That's a good point. I'm glad you asked. Okay, so they've known Jeff for 13 years. The owner of the egg farm, who it was the primary contact with Jeff, spoke probably daily for 13 of those years, every day of the week, including weekends.
Thought he was a friend, maybe a colleague, a businessman, you know, like everything wrapped up into one. Trusted this guy.
Family, Keith.
Come around my house for dinner.
Jeff used to always tell them, you know, I'll take a bullet for you. That was his famous line. Like, don't worry, I'll never let anything go wrong. I would take a bullet for you.
I'll sell it and keep the money.
I got your back. But instead of doing that, what he did was immediately when he acquired assets like a hotel in particular for cash over there, he immediately took the hotel and asked the bank for a loan against it, because the hotel had been purchased, the asset had been purchased for cold, hard cash. Now, after the asset was purchased and he was able to insert himself as director and insert himself as the director of the corporation that owned the asset, he was able to go out and acquire and shop for a loan against the asset. And of course, there were lenders at the time who saw a fully paid for asset and were willing to loan the company money using the asset as security. And he did exactly that on probably every asset that he acquired. So not only was he given cash to buy these assets, he then leveraged up the assets and got loans. Now, I guess in Jeff's defense, he would say, but I needed the loans. I had to, in order to acquire other assets to expand the portfolio. But that's not really, that's risk. That's additional risk. The egg farmer who invested was not looking for that kind of risk. They were looking for a short, solid investment. And when you leverage up things, I'm sure anybody listening to this this podcast can agree with, when you leverage up with debt, you do take on additional risk, especially if the debt money then is not used for the right purposes, not used to improve the properties or to go towards cash flow, and is used then to maybe enrich some of the other people involved.
Dan, how is it that Jeff even thinks that he's got entitled to negotiate anything here? You know, like, I mean, what's your sense on the balance, right? So if you're sitting in Jeff's situation, and then separately, the other question is, I'm completely confused as to how this guy has any representation at all. Like when, you know, if you sit down with somebody and you on board with them from an AML, KYC perspective, they put you through a check, you know, as a client onboarding, and the firm that's representing them, right, or a rep firm, which we've lodged a firm complaint about his lawyer, by the way, because he's moved him from another firm. So we're questioning how somebody would even take this on if they sit down and look at it at site and say, you're not in a good position here. You know, like legal advice to me should be not let's take a roll of the dice and head into court and exhaust them and hope people get fatigued and let's kick the can down the road. Like you'd expect somebody to sit down with them and say on a moral level, dude, there is no negotiating here. This is factual. This is binary. You know, this is their money. You've taken their money.
This is what should happen. And it actually is on a certain level is happening. And I'm starting to see some solid results. First thing we need to get from Mr. Leo is full disclosure. So for 13 years during these investments, there was no disclosure made. It was just verbal. Everything was like, Jeff would tell the investor, I bought this, or I sold this, or I'm having a problem with the hotel. We need to build more. We need to improve some rooms, so we need some more capital. But nothing in writing was ever given, and the loans that he took against the properties were never shown. So they never received any solid evidence of any of these transactions at all. There was no purchase sale agreements sent. So he kept everything close to his vest, but never did he find it necessary to share the documentation. You know, as you know, when you purchase properties, there's a lot of documents. There's purchase sale agreements. There's loan docs.
Dan, if I could bring into the situation. So I did check. It is public records. I'm not saying into out of hand. So basically, the situation that you've been faced with helping the family out is that I believe there was a company that was commercially viable was put into liquidation, into a voluntary liquidation position, which would have allowed the family in the States to have some credit protection, right? So that company was there, the asset. So can you just speak to that? Because that's the one that's really confusing myself. And I've no doubt when people start looking into this, that would confuse them also. So how did he actually architect this is the question.
So he convinced the egg farmer that they needed to liquidate the main source of the income and the company that the money was originally filtered or deposited into in Ireland, and then subsequently the money then went out to 3 or 4 different companies. But the initial company, Jeff convinced the egg farmer to liquidate because he needed to transfer the assets to another jurisdiction. And if they didn't liquidate the company and transfer the assets to another jurisdiction, he was going to be in problems with the authorities. So his promise to the egg farmer was, as soon as we liquidate this asset, I will transfer all of your assets to another jurisdiction. Once that asset gets into the other jurisdiction, I'll transfer it all back directly to you within a month or so. Well, that never happened, and that Jeff was able to get the egg farmer to sign a documentation. We don't know if they actually signed it or if it was forged. We're not sure, because it was never done with blue ink and it was never original signature. But there was a copy of a signature on a piece of paper that looked like it was a facsimile copy. And that document.
But just pause on that for a second. So what we're saying here is there's an entity, okay? And look, you know, we and I just want to say this is public record. So this is the same liquidator that Jeff appointed to Altada, by the way, right? So it's Kirby Healy. So a guy called Mr. John Healy, who was seen as a very reputable liquidator. So took this on where there was a company voluntarily put into liquidation which had assets. So that's the first question. So how would one achieve that is the overwhelming question, right? And secondly, as you said, like this is something where, I mean, you know, on a scheme of, you know, 1 to 10, this is a financial advisor to a family that has entrusted a guy. I mean, why would they commit napalm debt and enable somebody to just take all their assets and sign a document to do that? I mean, it's extraordinarily unbelievable, right? And then the other one is, how did the guy manage to convince credible accountancy firms and liquidation firms to take this on, where he was moving assets from a company that was viable, which had responsibilities to people in the out of jurisdiction. Like, there's a responsibility, right? And he's a director, so he's fiduciary responsibilities to make sure and ensure that he represents the company to the best of its ability, right? So what you're actually speaking about here is that he put something into a voluntary situation to essentially remove the assets. Like, that's in essence what happened.
Right. So how did he do it? I think he did it because, you have a big ocean in between Ireland and the United States. The egg farmers were at that point just desperate to get their principal back, and they were promised that if they signed this document, that they would get their assets back in a month. And so they believed that. They may have signed the document, sent it back. Essentially,
that's where I was heading. So there's a promissory, right? There's a promissory to say, okay, we're doing this, but we're only doing this because I'm going to return everything to you, right? And now here we are. And the guy, that's even been reneged on, right? So not only has he done that, he's now reneged on that initial promise. So he's broken promise upon promise, basically, to do anything ethical here, right? Or moral,
Well, yeah, he's just basically became the sole owner of every single asset in Ireland that the egg farmer invested in.
And the egg farmer did this out of desperation because it was like, seems to be my only chance of getting anything at this stage. And then, but also, this man has ingratiated himself within the community, the business community of Ireland. He's been linked, as a business advisor to some, household names. Like, he was.
That's online. Check it out. It's like Bernard Brogan is in business with the guy. Like, it's all public record. Steelworks Investments is the company that purchased Dundrum House. I mean, he's openly said it. They came out and said that they've distanced themselves from him. But like, this guy has to be stopped in his tracks, right? And that's like, he's doing it over and over. And I'm in there with Dan. And look, on the balance of things, I've seen this behavior. I've been on the receiving end of it. Like, there's a lot of stuff coming out of what happened in Altana, where this guy has been heavily involved with the demise, right, from earlier on. And he's been working with the other partners in the business. He's been down to see some of the other partners in Dallas and Texas. He's been over to see the other people in New York. So we have the information that's coming out. So now it's all starting to piece together, because I always sat back to myself, and Dan can relate to this. And I was saying, but it couldn't be this bad. Somebody couldn't be this calculated. There's no way it's this malice. And here we are sitting, another situation where he made a promise, upon a promise, did put a process in place, used the insolvency practice in Ireland, which he did with us, to get to a result. And that's what he's doing here again. So, and it's the same team supporting him. So at some stage, somebody has to step back and say, I'm not going to protect this guy anymore. Do the right thing and give this family back their money. And Dan, I just want to make sure that people understand, you're doing this to help the family because you're a friend, you're a colleague, you're a comrade of the family, right? Like, you're in this because you just want to see the right thing done. Is that fair? Is that a fair way to kind of to sum it up?
I got engaged because I'm marketing the eggs countrywide for the wedding. So I speak to the egg farmer maybe 10 times a day. And this topic comes up because you asked me like how the family is affected by this. And they will tell you that they've been literally tortured for 13 years, that Jeff Leo stole 13 years of their lives. They had meetings every week. Jeff used to fly into Ohio and meet with the family on a monthly basis. He would have a whiteboard in the hotel. They would meet together. He would show how do you get from A to Z on the whiteboard, and what a fantastic investment. He would promote his investments, promote these deals. He just brought in deal after deal. There was a total of about 35 different companies they invested in. And there was very little due diligence done on Jeff's part, because I don't think he really looked into the investment as to the viability or credibility of the investment. It was more like throwing darts at a dartboard. So if he found an investment, he had the money, he was looking to put the money, which is not his, by the way, into the investment. So when he would fly back to Dublin, there were just hordes of people waiting, because he had all those funds available for various investments that he had been promising. So people were pitching Jeff on their investment so that he could put part of the money into that investment. But that was not the intention of the egg farmer. The egg farmer just simply wanted solid, secure real estate that they could buy during an economic downturn, hold on to the properties for 2-3 years, revamp the properties, reimagine the properties, and then sell the properties for fair market value a few years later and bring back the investment. But none of that ever occurred. So
13 years, like they've been tortured. They've been living a nightmare basically created by this guy. Forget about the money. I mean, you're talking like 60 million here, but the peace of mind, being able to go to sleep at night. Like you're working closely with this gentleman, and he's talking about it. He mentions it every day. Like he's haunting him.
And that's why I'm involved, because they mention it every day to me, and I got engaged because of the enormous amount of money that we're talking about. It's hard to ignore, and you just get wrapped. You just get
you
can't know more. You just want to find out more, and it's a mystery.
And you want to help.
You want to help, yeah, of course, you want to help.
But then, like I've known you short, but you're just a decent human, and I must commend you. Like even coming on today, it's so like, we just need more men like you guys, man, to come in and say, I'm not going to stay quiet when evil exists. Like this is just pure evil stuff, right? And do you know what? It's back to your point, Dan. An extraordinary thing for me, right, is the mainstream media. There's a journalist in particular, Charlie Taylor, another guy, Tom Lyons in the Currency. They'll continue to report in this kind of positive light. Or the hero that came in to take out Altad and insolvent company, put in a liquidator. And one thing somebody said to me is when he was coming into court, he was like, how could this guy be wrong? Look at the legal team he has. He had an army of barristers, an army of lawyers, an army of solicitors. He had accountancy firms, liquidation guys. And the reality is the family you're mentioning, we're paying for it. So it's very easy to come into court to spend 50 grand a day in high court, which we had to pay as a family to defend against this guy, right? Okay, like I'm fighting this guy for 7 years. And, this is the point. When you're not spending your own money, and then what happens in Ireland is because guys throw money around, they automatically think they're right. And enough is enough. Enough is enough for these guys, Yeah,
and I think that it's very important to say at this stage, Al, as well, the journalists or anybody involved in any of the processes he has to go through within this country to get things done, whether it be legal, whether it be, financial, whether it be journalism, anybody that's on this guy's side, you need to listen to what Dan is saying. You need to hear what he's saying about this family. Forget about the money. Forget about the glamour. Forget about this. I don't know what you're seeing when you see this, this, charismatic American guy come in. Like, I mean, are we tugging the forelock here to a greater, a superior human? And clearly, how can he be wrong if he?
Keith, Dan, can I give you a message? Can I give you a message that was from one of the journalists, right? And this is shared with me. The person that sent the message is in the process at the moment, but he questioned him on this article that Charlie Taylor wrote, where he just highlighted the stuff in relation to, he's the hero again, defending his honor, right? Okay. And he came back and said, the person in question asked him, why are you not reporting the truth, what this guy is doing, rather than doing his bit? And he came back and said, I don't cover other areas referring to Leo having dealings with that because it's an illegal case and I'm restricted in what I can write in them. This is a guy that leaked private letters from a liquidator to creditors from Leo and published them in the Sunday papers with my picture, my wife's picture next to it, without ever even asking for comment or substantiating it. A one-sided confidential letter in the middle of a high court case. And now that's his response.
Just to sell newspapers. Just to sell
and like if we do 1 to 10, 10 bullshit parameter. So the sum up here, guys, is Jeff, get your butt out of Dundrum, give those people a break, and stop what you're doing, and give the family their money back. And if you want to come on and defend your honor and keep sending defamation letters, dude, I will welcome seeing you in High Court. All right, buddy? We're ready for you. Come on here and defend yourself if you want to. But that's my point. And I'll
let the people of Dundrum get on with whatever they like. Those people. So this guy is leaving in his wake. And it's not even in his wake now because he's still there. But you're talking about this family in America. You're talking about the people who have to live in Dundrum, and they're living in a sort of a nightmare as well. And you're talking about people's lives. And if you talk about 13 years of someone's life, or you talk about 7 years or 5 years, however long this is going to take to recover, and that's 7 years minimum of a village and all those people affected. And all those plans they had for the future of the village, and what they were going to do, and how and this is a village on the up, and all this kind of stuff, and that's a beautiful building. All of that to recover from that as a village, like these are people's lives you're affecting. And if you're backing this guy, and if you're writing this guy and supporting this guy, you're part of the problem.
Dan, any final words, my man? I know you've been so respectful to time, and I know it's heading into the middle of your day over there, buddy. So, any final words?
I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you guys discussing this matter, and there's going to be a lot more to come in the coming weeks. And I will second the fact that I think Jeff should come online. I would love to be able to listen to Jeff's side of the story if he has one, and debate that. But I doubt that's going to happen. Jeff seems to armor himself around solicitors. So. But in the meantime,
how can he be wrong? He's got an American accent. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand how I've seen him described in articles as the American financial rainmaker on many occasions.
Yeah.
Oh, we love it. We love the financial rainmaker.
That's the Charlie Taylor's view on him, Dan. So he's like, oh, Jeff Leo steps in to save everybody by liquidating the company that was already sold for millions of euros. That was going to make sure that all the staff were paid, and the revenue commissioners were paid, and all the creditors were paid. And he came in to save the day, and he crashed the company down by 6 million. And this is the publications that we have to read, which are total toilet. So I welcome anybody in the MSM to report on the facts. This guy has stolen money from a family, and he should give it back. And that's it.
Jeff, give back all the money.
Give back all the money.
Come up with a vast sum of money and purchase all the assets. You can keep your entire portfolio, or just give the assets back. Now, some of the assets have some charges against it because he took out charges, and we have no idea what he did with the funds after he took out charges. But they're tied to the properties no matter what at this point. So
he's using that money to make more rain. I think he's a
yeah.
He's got a reputation.
Maybe Charlie Taylor will report on it and give the truth. But Dan, and look, the last thing is the people in Dundrum just need. If the property came back to the family, they're decent people. They would listen to the people of a village that are saying, can you please just stop doing this and listen to people? But he just won't, right? Okay, and we had to come to this. We had to go to this.
Yeah, I don't think Jeff's going to be able to buy out the assets. He doesn't have access to that kind of capital. So his really best option is just to return the keys. So they say. Give the keys back to the bank. The bank is the egg farmer, and the assets should be all returned in a type of foreclosure type process. So
yeah, and look, there's probably a lot of decent people out there, Dan. I know. Look, there's other locations, but I think the one that's been high profile is Dundrum, because the people are just they're literally so passionate about their town. And maybe there's somebody out there that's come in and say, look, okay, let's buy that property off Jeff and move him out, and that gets you guys your money back and gets Jeff out of there. Maybe that's a win-win, but we're going to keep pushing, guys. We're going to keep telling the truth.
Shout out to all the good people who live in Tipperary, and I hope I pronounced that right. And
Tipperary, yeah.
I will say that we are trying to get your source code back. I think if we can legally return you the rights to your source code for your Atata, company, and let you start to monetize that, the numbers there are extraordinary if that would happen. So we need to get that flowing again, get the prospects of that fabulous, I guess, technology back into your hands. You're the original owner, writer, developer of it, and you can do amazing things with it. So hopefully we'll get it back.
Yeah, we're going against the bad guys, buddy. That's for sure. So
yeah,
thanks so much. I mean, a pleasure as always. Thank you so much.
Nice chatting with you guys.
You too so much, Dan. Thank you very much, Daniel.
You take care, man.
We talk to you again.
Yeah, we will. Let's have another talk. Let's have another talk soon.
Yeah,
we will for sure, Dan. Keep us updated, buddy. Okay, bye-bye. Take care, dude. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God.
There you have it. So defamation has a new term, huh?
I mean, surely we'll get a letter after that. All of that truth telling.
Will we get? Maybe we get an apology. You think?
We could write ourselves an apology, send it to ourselves, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Mark Hickey will have a remorse of conscience and say, "I'm not representing this guy anymore."
Yeah. How can you?
Sorry, Jeff.
I
can't defend the undefendable. Huh?
Yeah. Look, I mean, you'd have to be concerned if you're aligned to this guy and you're working with him, And I do think this is a moment. There's no one's gonna hold it against you. Step away. Just let everyone get on with their lives.
And look, we gotta wise up as a country, right? We gotta wise up that this guy came out of the US. He wasn't allowed to do business in his own home country. He comes into Ireland, he becomes a hero. He's destroyed people's lives, families, financial wherewithal, including my own. And now here he is destroying a county, right? And all the people I've asked him to do is do the right thing, and he can't do it. And here we are, even at the end, he won't return what's rightfully somebody else's property. Like this is the reality. And how many others are out there in that situation? A lot. And Ireland, guy, if we have any hope of saving our country, we're in the middle of an election. We're in the middle of a heightened state. The truth has to come out. We have to start telling the truth, guys. We have to be truthful and honest with ourselves as well. It has to stop, because these guys are enabled. This is the problem, right? They're empowered and enabled by a system where professionals will, unfortunately, they'll take the dollars, and even though at times do they know he's in the grey or not, I don't know. It's up for them to make the decision. But the reality is we need to step back and say, what's more important? Our country, our heritage, and being able to sleep at night. And that's it. And I'm not talking about sleeping at night in silk sheets because you're getting paid to do it, right? I'm talking about sleeping at night, knowing that you're doing the right
thing. Yeah.
That's it. It's not difficult.
Yeah, and that's it. Thanks very much, as always. I mean, I'm just going to go and have a lie down now for about 3 hours and just try and digest all of that. It's mind-boggling. Thank you to people who sent in a few messages. We'll leave it on this. Thank you, Dan, Keith, and Alan. I understand how difficult it is to put your head above the parapet. Thank you all at Moth News. You may just have saved our village. So thank you. Thanks for watching. I'll have a good day. And if you have a story and you want to get in touch, we're on X. You can send us a DM. We're on Instagram. You'll follow us. You'll find us on Instagram or X. Just send us a message. Send us a direct message. We'll come back to you. And if you have anything to add to this particular story, especially, we'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.